What's up, GameLeap? This is Coach Cheeks. Today's video, mate, this is a banger. 20 best champions 13-15. These are, of course, forecasted, so we don't actually know if these will be the best, but let me tell you something, bro. I've been around the block, mate. I just know. I've got to read on this situation. But seriously, guys, like, the nerfs in this patch, they aren't, like, and buffs, of course, like, they're not really that significant. So, for the most part, lots of these champions are really good at the moment, so if you want to practice them, if you want to master them, you can, of course, do so, and you've got the best chance of doing that on any champion by checking out our website, GameLeap.com. Challenger players and coaches from around the world who have mastered their champions. We've got courses and guides for every champion and every role on the Rift. So if you really want to take your game and split twos to the next level and actually achieve your goals, our website is really the only thing you need. So make sure you check out the website links down below. And yeah, so starting off in the top lane, we have 4 champions to talk about. The first of these being Aatrox, but Aatrox is getting nerfed, big deal. His Q's AD ratio might be going down at later ranks, so at level 9 you're losing 10% of that AD ratio. Do you think this is going to be catastrophic for Aatrox, a champion who is S+ tier in every single elo, who is like one of the few blind pickable tops because he is so strong? Of course not, right? Now if you're playing Aatrox in the top lane as well, taking TP into matchups where you know you're probably going to end up losing it and you need to scale a bit to really make use of the extra AD in your Q these days, then it's a really wise decision. If you feel as if you can actually hard stomp lane and win lane with Ignite, that's also a good option. And despite getting nerfed, bro, the nerf is like so minimal, man. This champion is still going to be probably the best top laner again for 13-15. Now, speaking about being one of the best top laners, this next champion is Fiora, right? And there are no nerfs for this champion, guys, in 13-15, unfortunately. And that might sound a little bit like bias of me, but bro, I have to talk about Fiora in like every single video. It kind of does my head in, to be honest. So if anyone knows anyone from the balance team, please like just buff someone else so I don't have to talk about Fiora again. But yeah, whether you're going Conqueror, whether you're going Grass the Undying, this champion with her overloaded kit is still insane, man. Like S+ did, just like Aatrox in every single elo. And that also goes for our next champion, but it's really important for this next champion, guys, that you're really using him as a counter pick, right? Because if you blind pick Malphite, which is why his win rate maybe in higher reloads might not be as good, because some people will be blind picking him and leaving themselves open to stuff like Vladimir, Silas, Maokai. These AP champions in the top lane love versing Malphite because you're picking Malphite to cuck attack damage champions, and preferably as well attack speed based champions. So if it's something like a Jax or Aurelia, your E completely destroys them, right? Because it slows their attack speed to the point where it's like you have no attack speed at all. So Malphite as a counter pick is still extremely strong. All of those buffs recently, whether you're going W max or Q max with Comet, both setups are pretty good. Just take Grass if you're going W max. But yeah, he's still rock solid, and that's why he's also here. Now, last top laner to consider has actually improved since Ghost got changed in 13-14. So the fact that it now lasts longer, even though you're not getting the refund on this doesn't actually bother Olaf too much. Because in the top lane, it's really a 1v1 for pretty much the entire laning phase, right? Or early laning phase, I should say, until like 14-15 minutes. And Ghost at that point, man, in a 1v1 lasting longer for a champion who loves to chase you down with approach velocity and, of course, his undertow. Bro, it's actually been really good. This champion as well, with lots of other top laners not really being like that amazing, is probably the biggest lane bully there is. I know Darius is there, and you do have Aatrox at the moment. Yes, he might be scaling better now, but Aatrox is still pretty decent in lane because of the buffs, right? Especially if you land your sweet spot stuff. But Olaf rivals him and might even be the best of them. So Olaf here, also incredible champion in like every single elo. So those are the 4 top laners. Now moving into the jungle here, despite some of these champions getting nerfed in 13-14, I cannot actually believe some of these are getting unnerfed, untouched in 13-15. So we'll start with Kha'Zix. Now for Bug Splat, for Cockroach Abusers, this dude with Duskblade, man, he is kind of cracked. Also last patch with the nerfs to Rengar and Rek'Sai, even though they did pretty much nothing, Kha'Zix is enjoying life a little bit more because they are 2 big hard counters to him. Rengar, of course, with his ultimate, will reveal you in your ultimate, and also Rek'Sai, if you jump in, you get knocked up, and you're just gonna die, right? But Kha'Zix at the moment, guys, like I said, with Duskblade, the synergy is insane, the extra damage you deal at a higher HP, it's so good for him, man. Also, you're clear as well. You can actually start without a health pot, save 50 gold, which is 10% of your 500 gold at the start of the game, and spend that towards a Duskblade. It's so important, by the way. The win rates, if you do that, it's actually really important technology. You might have to like start Raptors with a W star to be healthy throughout your clear, but it's an amazing strat. But yeah, Kha'Zix is here. Check the stats. He is popping off and will pop off in 13-15 as well. This is the same for Kindred, and I know lots of people hate this champion, and for probably good reason. She really only has like one potential counter in the jungle, which is Nidalee, because not only does Nidalee have the range that Kindred has, but she also outranges with her Q, right? And she can kite Kindred, whereas no one else can. You can beat everyone in this champion because you can just Q away from their engage, recreate the space, and GG. Also with Trinity Force and how broken that is, man, I don't know why they changed it like they did in 13-14, but Trinity Force Kindred is still incredibly broken, man. Even though she kind of got nerfed in 13-14, where they nerfed your Q's cooldown and damage. But the thing is, like, you're not maxing that first, right? You're going to max your W first. So that's why, like, you can kind of bypass those nerfs. And with the new Trinity Force, it might be even better because it stacks quicker and does more damage quicker. In a prolonged fight, yes, it won't be as good, but it's not going to be that prolonged on this champion, especially early on. So Kindred is still a great jungler to have. Then we have Nidalee herself. So the only real champion who can stand up to Kindred is Nidalee. Because of all the recent buffs in Season 13 to Nidalee, to your base armor, to your armor growth rate, to your movement speed, it's been a crack season for her. That's why she's still banned in over 50% of games in Korean high elo. And if you guys want to like actually understand why that is, we can teach you how to play this champion on our website, of course, GameLeap.com, to show you the potential of a champion whose potential is so high, like her ceiling, right? If you can pilot her, the potential is legit limitless. So Nidalee here as well if you need a bit of AP in the jungle. Moving on, we have Rengar. So Rengar, like I mentioned for Bug Splat, right? When you go Rengar with Duskblade, man, bro, this champion is probably even more cracked than Kha'Zix with it. Because Rengar, I think anyway, is just a better champion at the moment, a stronger champion. But you might be like, Eags, didn't he get nerfed in 13-14? Well, he did, but it was only to his crit damage in his Q and his base HP regen, which really affects like top lane Rengar, jungle Rengar. Like, who cares, man? Who actually cares about this? And even with the crit nerf, you can still go Essence Reaver second item and one-shot everyone. It's not like you're going full crit after that, so it's a little bit of crit that got nerfed. Most of your damage is coming from lethality. With the new Axiom Arc as well, there might be some interesting builds out there where you can go like Axiom Arc second or third and just go like full lethality and your ult will be on a super low cooldown. But yeah, Rengar in every single elo, like lots of these champions, has incredible win rates, so he's got to be here too. Now the final jungler who does well against two of these champions, so Kha'Zix and Rengar, you guys have probably guessed it right, this is Rek'Sai. Even though Rek'Sai got nerfed last patch, man, it doesn't matter, bro. Like, just go Bruiser Rek'Sai with Stridebreaker. Stridebreaker still giving you 60 attack damage. Rek'Sai still keeping all the buffs she had in 13-11. That's why she's here, man. And like I mentioned well, at the start of the video, lots of the nerfs, man, in recent patches haven't been big enough to stop these guys from being top tier champions. Like, they're even a level above S+ tier, to be honest. That's how I see it anyway. I think they're so much better than everyone else. So if you're not playing them, I actually think you might be missing a trick for once. Now moving into the mid lane here, we have 3 AP champions. And I know we don't have an AD champion in here. I might mention Kiana with the new Duskblade. I might mention Talon. Some AD champions, Akshan's another one, right? Some AD champions do perform well, but none of them are as strong, in my opinion, to compete with these 3 APs. First of these being LeBlanc. Oh, but Eags, you know, LeBlanc in gold, like, who cares about that? They don't know how to play her. We're not talking about that, man. We're talking about getting the max juice out of these champions, and when you do, they are the most aids. LeBlanc is the first one. Fleet Footwork LeBlanc with Static Shiver into Night Harvester is still banned in like close to 70% of games in high elo Korea. So if you thought like 50% was bad for Nidalee, try LeBlanc. It's legit like 70%. This champion, even though Static Shiv got nerfed in 13-14, bro, they didn't nerf the AP ratio, man. Like, you've still got the wave clear and you've still got the damage through this item. And obviously pairing this with Fleet Footwork once you get to Static Shiv, bro, most annoying champion in the game right now, hands down. But one champion who does very well against LeBlanc and is an amazing counter to lots of assassins, this is Lissandra, because the buffs in 13-14, especially to your Q, where it slows everything it hits, not just the first target. This has been great for Lissandra players. Of course, your ultimate healing you for more as well is super good, so you can be a bit more aggressive in team fights. You can go in and actually, you know, engage. Of course, you could do that before, but there's even more reason to now, and more reward for it. If you guys check the stats, Lissandra is doing really well at the moment and will continue to do so in 13-15. Just be a little bit careful about blind picking her because there are some really difficult matchups for you. If you're versing a champion maybe like a Vex, maybe a long-range champion like a Zoe who's very hard to get onto, right, you are going to cop it during the laning phase. Also, Vex just completely counters you because you can never really like E in or do anything against her. Very hard matchup. But Lissandra as a counter pick, amazing pick. Last champion, guys, who might be the best all-around mid laner, this is Neeko. And despite Neeko getting some changes and kind of have tried to buff her, hasn't meant anything, bro. You've still got all the damage in the world and the potential to pop off on this champion. Yes, they may have increased like your Q's cooldown, right? Now it scales down from 9 seconds to 7 seconds instead of being a flat 7 seconds. But this really doesn't matter because all the damage in your kit is still there, man. Going Rocket Bell, Sword Shoes, Shadow Flame, bro, you're gonna one-shot everyone still. And because, in most elos anyway, people aren't really going to like stand away from you, they're all gonna group up, you get like 5-man ultimates every team fight. She's a really great champion to have in your champion pool. Now moving down to the bot lane here, guys, where you have 6 champions to talk about. 4 of these are actual AD carries. So why don't we start with these before everyone starts getting mad? And these are as follows. The first one is Ashe. Just like Kindred, Trinity Force Ashe, man. Absolutely cracked champion. The 3-4 strike passive the movement speed, and when you pair this with something like Cheap Shot as a rune choice in your secondary tree, along with Lethal Tempo and a Kraken Slayer Rush as well, man, it could be like the most broken setup in the game, seriously. So guys, if you are playing Ashe in 13-14 right now and in 13-15, try that setup. Kraken Slayer with Cheap Shot and then go Trinity Force afterwards. She doesn't really have any hard counters during the laning phase. She's a great all-around AD carry, so if she isn't in your champion pool, you're trolling. Now next up we have Draven, who is an incredibly strong champion in the bot lane and has been for ages now. So Draven with Trinity Force if you want to, or you can also make use of the new Infinity Edge because it's dealing more crit damage, right? Which Draven appreciates. So if you're going something like Collector into Infinity Edge, bro, you will deal the most damage every single game. I would just highly recommend doing that build if you're super snowballing, right? Of course, Trinity Force will still work, but Collector into Infinity Edge, you will be able to cash in those chips and get more gold and just win in 15 minutes. So Draven is here as well. Third champion, third AD carries another Trinity Force abuser, this being Ezreal. That's literally it, bro. Like, he's here because of Trinity Force. Also, the engaged meta, Ezreal is like the perfect ADC to have because he's good with engage. Not only does it allow you to land your Ws and then your Qs, auto attacks, get your Conqueror stacking if you're going that, of course, but also to actually counter engage. A Blitzcrank hook lands, who's pretty popular, just E out. A Rel goes in, just E out. And if you take Cleanse on top of this and you know how to play this champion, bro, super frustrating to play against this guy. So Ezreal is also here. Vital AD carry is Kai'Sa, and I know Kai'Sa is getting nerfed in 13-15. If you guys didn't already know, your Q's AP ratio is going down, and your W's cooldown, the refund, is also going down as well. But here's the thing, man. We don't really care about that because, well, to be honest anyway, AD Kai'Sa is even better and will be still just as good in 13-15. Because AD Kai'Sa with Lethal Tempo, because the bot lane is so engage-centric at the moment, your passive, you're always going to proc it, and I understand there's big AP in your passive, but for AD Kai'Sa, man, with Tempo, stacking it is so easy, and you still deal so much damage. In fact, AD Kai'Sa has better win rates than AP Kai'Sa, even right now before the nerfs hit. So definitely consider still playing Kai'Sa next patch with the AD version of her. Now, the final two champions here for the AD carry position. The first one is an AP champion who did get nerfed a couple of patches ago, this being Karthus. But who cares, bro, if your Q does a little less damage? Like, no one. Get to Lost Chapter, bro. You're going to be the most dominant force in any game, especially if the enemy team is very engagey in close range, which is what it is at the moment right in the ball lane. So for Karthus, when you have your Defile going and you're throwing out Lay Waste, man, you will be dealing, kind of like I mentioned with Draven, an infinite amount of damage. And who likes playing against this, bro? Like, I really hope the balance team somehow nerf this into the ground. It's pretty obnoxious and it's pretty unhealthy, I think, for the bot lane. But yeah, I just recommend picking this guy when you see engage in the enemy bot lane already. If you pick him and there's an Ezreal on the enemy team or some sort of big range champion, even something like Ashe, Caitlyn getting buffed in 13-15, you don't really want to go against those champions. It's really more for those champions, something like maybe a Lucian, Kai'Sa, Xayah, Draven, Karthus Crushers. Final champion here who's getting buffed in 13-15 for the AD carry position anyway. This is Yasuo. Now, I know that Yasuo in the mid lane, well, he's more popular in that role, but he's not good as a mid laner, man, especially at the moment, right? There are so many champions who are just better than him and outperform him. But Yasuo in the AD carry role really appreciates it because engage, your ultimate, you love it. Nautilus, Rel, Blitzcrank, Thresh. Everyone right in the bot lane at the moment works with Yasuo. You also cuck a lot of AD carries and anyone who wants to dare go in Enchantress support with Yasuo open because you're wind wall. You block all of their damage, of course, right? And because your passive is getting buffed, so it's now going to scale linearly instead of like randomly, which is how it is right now in 13-14. This makes you less killable during the laning phase. It makes you a bit beefier. So when you do get to Berserker's Greaves and maybe like Shiv, Gale Force after this, right? You have all the attack speed you need, and hopefully you're going to get there without being 0-10. So that power spike is no longer going to be the case. So Yasuo, the final champion, you can play in the AD carry role for 13-15. Now guys, there are 3 more champions here. These are all supports, and if you have enjoyed this video, please remember to leave us a like down below. And these 3 supports are as follows. Number 1, we have Rakan. Versatile, works in any single composition, doesn't really have like any hard counters. Alright, something like a Rel, Leona, Janna with her knockup, right, when you W in. They can be annoying, but you can still make Rakan work because you're such a good peeler, right? You don't always have to go in. Also, the gap closing you have, you can quickly punish enemy champions. That's also the case for the second support here, this being Rel. Rel, despite getting nerfed in consecutive patches in 13, and 14, who cares about this, bro, when, just like I mentioned for Nico, right, you could also compare this to someone like an Annie who's getting nerfed, her Tibbers. These champions are still maintaining their strength, so Annie and Nico for their AP, Rel for her Engage, for a CC. You're still Rel, man, you're still an S+ tier champion in every single elo, so there's no reason for me to take her off this list, and she's not getting nerfed in 13-15. Other balance team feeling alright, so that's why she's got to be here. Last support here, guys, who's probably the most difficult to play, this being Thresh. Thresh in every elo, man, like he should be a high skill ceiling champion, but honestly, like anyone's making him work at the moment, it seems, because even in lower elos, he's like an S at least tier champion, and this really speaks volumes just to how much Riot have buffed this guy. If you're really skilled at Thresh, I think he's very hard to play against as well. Also, there aren't many hard counters to this guy, so he's great to have in your champion pool, and with the engage meta at the moment, Thresh, not only do you counter a lot of champions because of your flay, but you can also act as that engager because of your death sentence. So those guys were the 20 most broken champions for 13-15. Thank you so much for watching the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our future uploads, and I will see you on our next Season 13 upload. This has been Coach Cheese. Peace.